everyone. Welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts, Will, Allison, and Samantha. And it feels like forever since we've been together. We taped a whole bunch there around Christmas.
It has been forever.
And shortly after Christmas.
Sometime in February, right?
Yeah, it just feels like a long time. And we're coming off of spring break. I got a cough. I got a little cold. You can hear it in my voice. I'm sorry, but we had to tape today.
But Allison
can't stop this train.
She's our anchor. And so she has to be able to speak. Otherwise, Will and I are going to be like all over. And
it would be a really quiet, or it would be everywhere all at once.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All at once.
And I can't laugh. I have to be careful not to laugh too hard or I'll start coughing. It'll be horrible.
Well, if it gets that bad, I'll block you out.
So I apologize in advance to our viewers.
You'll hear any edits in advance.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Missing segments of time.
They're like, we're like this, and then we're like this.
Right. Right.
True.
That happens.
But I also want to say right now, before we even get into the topic, hit the thumbs up button.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because while we were on spring break, I was just reading some things about YouTube because we hit 1,000 subscribers and now we're at like 1,020 or something.
Yeah,
so that was cool.
Slow increases.
That was fun. But I was listening to somebody talk about his YouTube channel and that he hit 1,000 after he hit 1,000, what happened and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he was saying that YouTube's algorithm pushes videos in front of people based on if you're watching a bunch of spiritual metaphysical stuff, it'll push more spiritual and metaphysical content in front of you. Mm-hmm. So it'll push our little bitty channel in front of more people if there's engagement. And you guys are already fantastic at engaging with comments. And we love that. That's so much fun, right?
Good engagement. I love
it. But as simple as a thumbs up. So I was going back and looking at all of our videos and we have usually about 150 on up of views, but yet the thumbs up are only like in the 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, so do us a favor.
So that's so easy.
Go back and thumbs up.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a good point.
Cool.
And even
it's so easy to thumbs up. Just click.
And even for those that are on our Rumble feed or our Spotify feed, same thing. Give it a thumbs up, a like, right. Whatever it might be in that platform. The more that it gets engagement, the higher it does get pushed.
Which reminds me, I wanted to say, if anything ever happens to this channel, remember we're on Rumble right. and Spotify and Apple. Yeah. So go ahead and bookmark those.
Because you just never know.
Just in case.
That one word might get through with the algorithm and then all of a sudden we're not there the next time.
Who knows with the YT gods.
That's right. Okay. The YT gods.
Now they're gods.
Right. And I wouldn't consider them gods for sure.
No, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, yes. I know, right.
Okay.
Air quotes.
So today we're going to talk about energy. And I was looking back and we've never really addressed energy. We've addressed energy healing.
Yes.
And we've addressed the energy of manifestation, but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
But energy, like what is it? How do we sense it? How do we feel it? How do we see it? How do we recognize it? If we are a client, how do we recognize it but in our pet book, I have a whole chapter on energy because pets are animals, any animal, they're so good at sensing our energy. I mean, they can see orbs in your house. Almost every client that we have for a pet session, that the pet will come in and the first thing they do, they're looking around in here. They're like, oh my gosh,
look at all this.
There's so much. There's so much energy. There's so much. And they always recognize a big blob of energy over here in the corner. I don't know what it is, but several have mentioned this big blob over here in the corner. So
no, Will doesn't know that because he's not present and he doesn't listen to recordings.
No.
So they'll be like, I'm sorry that I'm so distracted. Okay, go ahead and ask your questions. They're so cute. But what they're sensing is the energy off of us or the energy in the room such that they know that you're coming home before you've even decided to come home, let alone get in the car and drive home. They know when you're coming home. I was thinking about that yesterday. So we were driving back from the mountains.
Yeah.
I was like, our cats probably know we're already on the way home.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, I was wondering if that's how they also sense, like when you go to the vet and you don't know what the diagnosis is, you don't know what's going on. And like I always thought, okay, they know the turns in the road.
Right.
I think it's that they're picking up on your energy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And because, when you're headed home, well, cats don't do this, but dogs, when you're headed home, their tail starts wagging. They just know because all that, cats are just still like, I want out, let me out, I want out now.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
We know that animals are good at sensing energy. We want to know, and we want to share with you how we sense energy
Mhm.
You guys can tell us how you sense energy in the comments,
For sure.
but how do you
Well,
guys?
Okay, let's start with, in case anybody doesn't know this, we're all made of energy.
Mhm.
Right.
Everything is energy.
Right.
And so it's the different density or vibration, the frequency of the energy. So that's what we're really talking about is that sort of kind of thing. Like, when you talk about the etheric bodies, that's just energy vibrating at different levels, different, it's a different frequency for each particular body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every human being has an energetic signature. It's a
Mhm.
whole different frequency, a minute difference in the frequency. Yes.
Or even like the table that's just, it's all agreed to come in closer together, be more condensed, even though it's still going to. So, if we are using our extrasensory perceptions and sensing out energy, we should, be able to get some vibe from a table. Have you ever felt like this table feels good to me or this one doesn't?
That's a interesting question.
Like not so much with plastics, but I feel it with wood. And it's not a sense of, is the wood beautiful or not? Of course, I appreciate it,
Mm-hmm.
but there can just be a whole different feel.
Sure.
Like, anyway, yeah.
Well, good. I mean,
Everybody's going to go, let me go check out my dining room table.
No, that's actually, that. So I'm kind of going back to, because I like, artisan woodwork,
Mhm.
stuff that's been handmade, and not just obviously factory produced. But we have up where we're at in Virginia, we have a like an art. What would you call that? Art institute? It's not an art institute.
It's a school.
Yeah, school.
Like
School of the Arts. It's called. I think
It's not really a vocational school, but they do teach a lot of different things like woodworking, metalworking, stone wrapping. What'd you do?
Knitted
You did
blankets. We did macrame.
I mean,
sounds vocational.
yeah, but it's not for to
well,
do
it's
it.
not to get a
It's
degree.
not
It's
to
just
get
to
a degree.
teach a
Oh,
skill,
yeah,
a craft, teach a craft.
But
All right.
then, certain people can that they've made stuff over and over again, they can sell it in their gallery.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of, handcrafted tables, and looking at those, and then also going back to my youth when I'd go to art shows and look at some handcrafted tables. It's not so much that I'm picking up on the wood now that I'm actually thinking about it. I'm really picking up on the artisan and how much he's actually put into it. Right.
Uh-huh.
Put in, put his, we always say about cooking food, right? Allison cook the same thing that I cook.
Bet it doesn't taste
right, because I put my heart into it, because that's how right. And it's not to say that Allison doesn't, but cooking is not her thing. So if an artisan puts their heart, their energy into something, it's reflected back. And you can look at the artists that have been doing it for, and this isn't for every artist, but many artists get burnt out, but they feel like they have to keep pursuing and keep going. And you can tell that by looking at how many people go to a certain booth. Well, that's a fresh artist. That's one that's got their energy.
So you're sensing their energy.
Exactly.
And the energy of their work.
Yeah.
But different woods are going to have a different vibration.
Oh, sure.
Yes. Just because the nature of where the tree was felled, and what it has witnessed over its lifetime.
Yep.
I imagine that there's all kinds of intricacies with that. But then there's also, we just subset with furniture here.
Right.
But going along with the furniture thing, it's also why so many, psychics, mediums, people who don't identify as that or whatever, but they get around a piece of furniture and like you will feel attachments, spirits to it. I remember sitting with a friend of mine who she is an intuitive. At the time, I was just kind of, I was, but like I didn't think I was that good or whatever. We're having lunch and I keep getting distracted looking over this way. And there was a piece of old furniture, but it was used as a cutting board for bread, like for the, they'd put the bread in the bowls, bring it to you. And when I would look out of the corner of my eye, like it's not that I could see anything, I could sense it. And I could feel that the energy could sense that I could sense them. And they kept kind of moving to get my attention, but it's like, you can walk up to a piece of wood or whatever and like begin to get like literally, cold or warmth from it or emotions from it. And so it's like, there's a lot more to it than that. Okay. So how do you sense energy?
How do I sense it?
What faculties are you using?
I'll say
I'm trying to give your voice a break a little bit.
Every aspect. I mean, it's everything from physical sensations to even down to the point of a smell or a ringing in my ears or a pressure around my body, or I mean, it's every sense in my body is how I perceive it. So it's
that's very aware. Like the ringing, you know, that would be.
So I've had that a couple of times with going into large groups of people, and everybody kind of has that sense when they go into a large crowd of people. It's sometimes a bit overwhelming, it just because it feels like there is a lot of pressure there.
Oh yeah.
Right. It feels like the walls are really close, and even if it's a big open auditorium, but when you get around certain people, that's when everything kind of changes. And then that's when I get like a ringing in my ear, or like not a ringing, like you would hear like that high pitched tone that you sometimes hear when energy shifts in the room. This is, for me, it's more of a, what's the best? I associate it with ringing. It's like a pinging, like almost like a radar ping, like a little, like I can't even make the noise, but it's just a real quick moment that when I get close to somebody, and it's just to put me to be a little bit more aware of that person.
Interesting.
And so I have to refocus myself to that person to see, okay, is this somebody I want to continue the conversation with, or is this somebody I want to back away from? And it's just a little sensory portion. But I think for me, it is every sense, and it comes down to being a mechanic and using every sense. Being a mechanic, it's, you everything, like we said, the table's vibration, the books are vibration, the drinks are vibration, the piece of machinery is vibration. So I just find myself using every sensory aspect to sense what's going on, to give me the most input to make a decision or make some sort of thought process around it.
But, and you mentioned this earlier before we started, both of you guys talk about how sometimes when you have a client that comes in, they have scattered energy. The client has scattered energy, right?
Oh yeah.
When you're doing Reiki, for example,
Absolutely.
and whatever
that's
setting.
like the cat, how you were saying the cat, can know when you're coming home. Yeah. It's like, I can just be a nervous wreck before a client comes in because I'm picking up on their energy about them being.
So talk to us about that. What does that look like or feel like, or what's that experience? How do you understand that their energy is scattered?
For me, it's not so much as before they come. Usually what I pick up is some sort of ailment before they come. Yeah. So like,
I would not want to pick that up.
I've learned that this is just me. It's my little radar signal to say, okay, they're having an issue, say maybe with breathing, or say maybe a little heart issue, or they might be having some sort of joint pain or something like that. And it's usually about 40 minutes to an hour before the client shows up. I'll be at the house, just kind of milling about, having breakfast, doing whatever, waiting. And all of a sudden, I'll just start getting this weird pain out of nowhere, or this weird feeling out of nowhere. And so I got to sit and check in. I'm like, is that me? And nope, didn't do anything to cause that. Okay, so this has got to be the client. And so I have to confirm immediately with the client as soon as they arrive. And as soon as I confirm with them, and I'll say 99% of the time, they acknowledge, and it immediately goes away.
Let's tie that.
So then I'm going to go into it for me, for like this scattered energy.
Wait, before you do that, I want to tie what you just said to this understanding of energy. In other words, what does that have to do with energy? And the point is that in our auric field, our energetic field exists that pain or that disorder or whatever. All of those things begin vibrationally in your energetic field before you ever manifest it in the physical body. So therefore, as they're pushing their aura out because they know they have a session and they're on their way, for example,
they're thinking about it.
Your aura and their aura start to interchange.
Exactly.
Interact.
Good point.
And that's how you're picking up on that information the same way somebody might pick up on psychic energy. So they can read your mind, for example, because it's in your auric field. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and then there's another aspect of they're like, I wouldn't be able to feel that off the gardener. It's the fact that somebody's coming in to see me. And so on some level, they've given permission for me to start getting the feels for them.
Exactly. I agree with you. Yeah. I don't go around walking through Walmart going,
Thank goodness.
Right.
Though you do go, oh, I'm not going down that aisle.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
there is that.
Yeah. I say
Come on, everyone's felt that.
there are some practitioners though that are that open, and they really have to watch where they go, because they will pick up on all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
all right. So in terms of the scattered
yes, in terms of the scattered energy, for me, and it's mainly through Reiki sessions, as soon as we start the session and I place my hands on their crown, because we do a dual practitioner Reiki session. Allison works at the feet towards the center. I work from the head down to the shoulders. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I place my hands on their crown, it's like, I'll say like getting jacked into the matrix, but everything is just 1,000 miles an hour. And it's like, it's all vibrating in my field where I can't quite ascertain where they are in their energy.
Yeah.
Because it's in every direction. So I take.
And is that just a knowing, or do you feel it in your body?
I physically feel it because I get tingly in my body, but I also get a knowing that, okay, it's like all of a sudden, all my cognitive thoughts that are nice and calm and peaceful, all of a sudden just go, and they're all disrupted. They're all just all over the place. I'm thinking about 1,000 things at once. I'm like, oh, nope. Okay. I know.
It's like that calm energy that you had has all of a sudden
just,
yeah,
gets exploded into a million pieces. So then I'm like, okay. And I know immediately what to do. I take about, I don't know, like maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and I just focus on that scatteredness, and I create a bubble around it, and I collapse that bubble down, and I just relax it. And I start breathing. I start doing some breathing, deep breathing, rhythmic breathing. And then what I also sense in the client is they start their rhythmic breathing somewhere about halfway through. And all of a sudden that bubble just collapses in on itself, and it just gets nice and calm. And I literally feel them like just sink into the table. And now I know, okay, we're both equalized here. Now we can really get to work. And so it's a real beautiful situation that takes place.
That's really cool. Because that's for me, it's different. Like, I know, like sometimes my stomach will hurt. Sometimes I feel like I want to cry. Sometimes, and I'm just sitting there going, I know I was perfectly fine. I was excited when I got up this morning. I'm excited to have this appointment. And all of a sudden, I mean, like I'll start dropping things, and literally like, it's just, so I can sense this feeling of scattered or emotional or whatever. And, a lot of times I don't sit there and go, is this mine or theirs or whatever? I probably should do that more, but I think I've gotten into doing it more without realizing I'm doing it. But anyway, so I'll greet them, have them come in. And the first thing I do is, because I try to move any obstacles out of the way, I'm like, so were you feeling nervous right before you walked in? And I'm like, because I am just like all over the place. And they're like, oh God, yeah. I don't know why I'm nervous. I feel like I'm going to hear something I don't want to hear, and I just want to remove all of that excess energy out of the way. And so I'm trying to think so for me, when I'm looking at them, like I can feel it, it's usually in this area that I feel it. But then when I'm looking at them, it's almost like second sight, because it's not like I literally see this, and I can't say it's a knowingness, but it's somewhere in between the two, where I just see their energy just like going, like, but it could be different. It could just be that it's kind of going, or it could just be darting different directions. Like, and I don't. So
do you see it in your third eye? Then you kind of know it.
It's not here. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm
or in your mind's eye, or are you physically
or
seeing
you I was gonna say, or are you actually like seeing an overlay on them where you're
I feel like I'm seeing like an overlay, like it's
you're seeing their etheric field being kind of fractured and like doing
because it's not just a sense of it. It's kind of like I could tell them your energy's going, like it's wobbly or it's doing like and it's not, because when I think in my mind's eye, I usually look up here, and instead I'm looking right at them. And so as we go through, and like, I remember one time you guys saying, well, you could heal them. You could do this, you could do that. And it's never occurred to me to like, but my form of healing, I guess, is talking. And so we'll start going through the session, and, like whenever I hear their voices tightening up and things like that, I'll find ways, like sometimes I just have to say, okay, stop. let's breathe in and breathe out.
Mhm.
And there's something just enough about the space I've created and my voice that I can get them to kind of tone it down, because I think that it would be challenging for me to get a feel for them
Yeah.
while their energy is all over. But it's really cool that by the end of the session, like I can see this flow. Like
Yeah.
it's just this.
Yes,
I remember one time somebody saying, well, can you see my aura? And I'm like, I've never been trained to do that. I really don't know that, but it's pink. You know,
You know what I'm thinking, don't you? Our property.
Crazy
This was
situation.
funny.
Yeah. Did you
Did you see that? I posted something on Facebook. Did you see it?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So our property where we were for spring break is up in the mountains of Virginia, and
The western
People-
portion of Virginia, it's in the mountains. It's
people
a
are
little
very
town,
country there.
little town called Galax is where we're
It's
near.
very rural and isolated. And we were at our favorite coffee shop run by Mennonites.
Mhm.
So it's even more conservative and rural, right? And they have the best vegan fried fruit pies. They're not healthy, but they're good and they're vegan. But at any rate, we were there for our coffee and our fruit pie. And right next table were these 4 older people, 1 woman, 3 men. They were probably late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s.
Yeah.
And the one guy was rather spunky, kind of feisty. He was ribbing the guy next to him and joking. And they were facing me, and I was facing the counter, looking at Will and Natalie, who were ordering. So I couldn't help but make eye contact. So the feisty guy, he starts talking to me and whatever. It was hilarious. He's hilarious. And anyway, he's asking me where I'm from and am I rich because I have an RV up there and just all this funny stuff. Well, anyway, by the end, when Will and Nat came and sat down, they were chatting with him too. And we got to know him a little bit. But as we were leaving, Will and Natalie walked towards the door. And
Natalie's our daughter, by the way. Yeah.
I walked over to the guy and I just tapped him on the shoulder. I said, you have great energy. I said, thank you for that conversation. And anyway, he goes, can you read my aura? And I'm like, what? First of all, you're like mid 70s. Why in that was like the most random question ever. And I just started cracking up. I was laughing. I'm like, why?
That word came out of his mouth.
That he even knows what it is. Is that that's how you say it, right? Aura? I'm like, yeah. I said, why in the world would you ask me that? He goes, well, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. He goes, what color should my aura be? If I have an aura. I said, green would be good. That's your heart center. Green would be really good. Anyway, it just cracked me up. So I thought maybe it's because of my fairy hair. Did you see my fairy hair? Suzanne, I'm calling you out. I told you I would call you out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if she just listens or if she hasn't paid attention to my hair, but I have fairy hair in here, little sparkles. And so maybe he saw my fairy hair and thought I was woo woo and thought, oh, she must be able to read auras. And I heard about that. Anyway, I said, that's really funny that you would ask me that because I kind of work in that field. I said, my husband probably could over there, but I can't. And he goes, why can't you? And I'm like, call me out, dude. Call me out. It was hysterical.
But the
Anyway,
thing is, I bet if you had just stopped for a second, like that's what I'm saying. When that person asked me, no, I couldn't see their aura, but the information was given to me. Like it was just there.
Well, then maybe that's why I said green, because he did have a good heart. He
really
raised
did.
my vibration because he was just so genuine and fun and a loving guy. He was hilarious.
And of course, my next reaction was, well, how come you didn't just pull up a chair and start talking to him then?
Well, because first of all, I sounded like this. I'm not well. I was feeling a little bit under the weather.
If he's a local, I'm sure we'll run into him again out there.
So. Otherwise, I would have gone to the car and gotten a book, really blown his socks off.
Oh, no, that
given him something
to overwhelm.
Not the last book, maybe just the first book.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry about the tangent, but
no, that was an exciting story.
That was the most hilarious story ever.
Well, I think it's kind of like when we interviewed the Baptist, he was Baptist, right? Baptist minister, because hearing him, the word Kundalini,
come out of a preacher's,
a retired Baptist pastor, Reverend Polk. You can watch his episode if you haven't.
Totally doesn't work. Like it's just, it's a schism in the universe as we've known it. And it's, the sign of things that are coming, which is so cool. So that was fun. That was fun. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that sometimes, like we talk about where we can sense the energy and how we visualize it. I don't know. It's like, I think when you're starting out, the main thing that they do to teach you about energy is you do the, I want to say palmistry. It's not palmistry. It's,
psychometry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know you guys go. And, so you, everybody puts something in and you grab it out and then you
an item like a jewelry piece of jewelry. Or something.
A ring, a necklace or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. And so, people say, well, you're psychically reading it, but what you're doing is you're reading the energy.
Right.
And so, there's a story attached to it.
Yep.
I think I'm saying it simplistically. I think it's far more complex.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like, think of like this teeny tiny little chip that runs a whole airplane or spaceship or whatever. It's like, it's that kind of little energy that's in there that has this whole story if you let it just run and come out of your mouth.
Psychic energy is nothing more than the memory that's been created over time of what has taken place in the life of,
and it's stored in the energetic field.
It's stored in the energetic field.
Everything's
even our scientists understand, our physicists, they say that everything at its very core is nothing but a vibrating string of energy, everything. And within that vibrating string of energy, it carries information, whatever that information is. Really, it can be the whole universe.
Yeah.
I mean, everything can be stored in each little atom, in each little cell.
And even like in the couple times I've put on the classes, as far as exploring your gifts, and the very first class is really kind of just messing around with energy, doing or looking at auras and seeing if you can see an aura. But we start with, the simple grade school, the grade school activity of just putting your hands together, rubbing them together, and then pulling them apart and then bringing them close together with your eyes closed. And then kind of at some point you'll feel as if it's like two opposite or two poles of a magnet pushing it back away. That's your energy field, creating that space. And then I have them do it with a partner. You rub your hands together, they rub their hands together, and then you bring your hands closer together, and then you'll feel like one will push away from the other.
So think about it. You're agitating that energy.
Yeah. You're like stirring it up.
Clients that come in, they have had an experience they're living under a stress or whatever, in which their energy is agitated.
There's been a little bit of friction on their auric field to get it to stir up, whether that's self-imposed or environmentally imposed, and they're all, vibrating in a weird way. So.
And warming it up. Heat is energy. Yeah. We know that, right? From science. So when you're doing Reiki, sometimes beforehand, if you're trying to sense for hot spots, you'll run your hand within their auric field, feel for hot spots or maybe stoppages, blocks, or why, and maybe you can talk about this. Sometimes when there's a spirit or spirits that enter the room, like in a seance or something like that, it'll get cold because from what I understand, they are gathering the energy to help them to manifest or materialize. I thought they were sucking some of the energy up to help.
I didn't know why it got cold.
And those
makes sense.
That I believe is more in the lines of the whole what do they call that? The true trance medium aspect, where the ectoplasm and all of that comes out.
Yeah,
so it has to condense itself into that dense form that does come out. So
it's drawing from
there's
the
a whole weird
ectoplasm. That's a rabbit hole. Go down that one.
But and that's practiced more in the UK in that area than it is here in the States. They do have trance mediums that pull through, and it's through a seance practice, and then there's photographs of them with this gooey haze coming out of their bodies,
or it forms a mouth.
I think the difference is here, like there they want to be wowed and evidence.
Odd,
and here people, Americans, we just want our damn information.
That's right. Give it to me quick. I need to get. I got my coffee in 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think the episode that we did with Priscilla Luis, you can watch that one. Go back. But she's a medium in the UK, and she's been to Author Finley.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
On many occasions, and gone to those types of seances, and I think we talk about that in that episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Okay, so I don't want us to not bring this into it. So it's because this is kind of like the thing hanging out there is about being empathic. So empathic, we're all empathic. Some people are more aware that they're empathic. Some people are just supercharged, super sensitive. Others, at least that's my take on it. I don't understand how you can't be empathic because we're all sensing energy, and if you're energy, you're sensing energy, you're part of energy. But, and I think you guys have focused on this too. Like when you get, nothing's more fun than when you have a client come in and you hear them talking and my first thing to say to them is, okay, so like when you were in school, did you notice that like you'd be so jazzed for a test and you're ready to go in and you feel like you have all the knowledge, and then you sit down and you're waiting for the test and you hear people doing this and you start paying attention to things going on around you. And then all of a sudden you start feeling crummy, nervous and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah. And like you blow it and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, you're empathic, like your sensitivity is just, you don't have a barrier, you don't have a block on it. You're taking everything in and trying to make sense of it rather than letting it kind of pass through you.
Right.
I was hearing someone talk earlier today about how you need to form a bubble of protection. And they said they don't like that word. And I agree.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it. It's not that you need to do a bubble of protection. It's that you need to allow the information that is salient for you at that moment to come in, and the rest just go on its own way. And then you're not resisting.
Right.
Okay, I just brought in a whole bunch of different things.
Anytime, this is a good point that you use the word protection, then you're assuming you have something or that you need protection from something, and you don't, because you're the most powerful
universe.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And along with the empathic piece is this connection to discernment, because how you experience energy in your body or your gut, wherever it is that you sense energy, that's what you're going to use when you're trying to discern something that's good for you or not so good for you, a path you should go on or not go on, or avoid, a person that you should avoid or jump into relationship with.
Exactly.
Because you're sensing an energy either coming off of their auric field. You're sensing it into them somehow or into that situation. That's what we mean about discernment.
Yeah.
So where is it in your body? Like you guys are talking about.
And is it expansive or is it contractive a word? Because I think you're
contracting.
Well,
is it a contracting energy?
I've made the word contractive because when I say expansive, I want to say contractive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Why not?
It's now a word.
We're making it a word. We're going to submit that to Webster next week.
But yeah, I didn't think there's so many aspects to the whole energy thing that I hadn't really thought about, and then when you're dealing with, street smarts, everybody says, if you walk into a situation with, and you're just like vibrating with fear, well, they know that you're easy pickings, that, whereas if you walk in and your energy is such that it's not that you have a shield necessarily around you. It's just that your energy is bold and strong and complete. And it's kind of like, that feeling of you mess with me.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. You know, it's like
animals, they say, can smell fear or sense fear. That's true. So they can sense
which is why dogs tend to bite people a lot, especially little dogs. They're already working from a position of you're huge.
Right.
And just, they start yapping because they're fearful. And then you kind of start doing this thing where you're not sure if you should touch them or not. And they're like, hell yeah, I'm going to bite you.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I think my first real experience with animals and energy was through horses. And when I was 10 years old, and before that, I'd been involved with horses, but by the time I was 10, I had my first pony. I was very, very fortunate. And I remember, because my parents didn't know what I was doing. They didn't understand all of it. I had a bridle. I think I might have had a bareback pad eventually, but I pretty much rode the horse bareback with a bridle. And so for me, like I could feel, I could sense the energy, and like with a horse where the withers are, that's their like nerve center right there. And I remember feeling like so alive and so connected, and just, I could put my hands out while the horse was galloping and just feel like this huge
Mhm.
connection.
It's like you become one. isn't it?
Yes.
Avatar.
I don't know this
I
from
totally
experience,
get how
but-
Native Americans, how they do that, how they communicate with the horse.
Or
and
Avatar,
everything.
like the movie Avatar, where you're connected to it. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so when you are upset, when you're freaking out and you get on your horse is generally kind of a dick. I mean, they're just kind of
Yeah.
going, ooh, I don't like this. You're not
Right.
normally like this.
Your-
What's going on?
Your
And-
vibe is off, dude.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And then you think of, how the horses, how they're able to sense, like when someone's in fear, it's not the person who they normally would trust. It's another individual coming
Right.
in.
Yeah.
Who's, well, you guys know all about this. I mean, hopefully you guys have seen the different episodes y'all have done when you've talked to the horses.
Oh,
the
yeah.
healing,
Oh, yeah.
therapeutic horses, because they know, okay, this isn't someone who is the person I'm normally connected to.
Right.
This is someone who I can sense needs adjustment with their energy.
Mhm.
And like people can just feel it. You get into that vibration with a dog, a cat, a horse, and you're just like, you just feel yourself slowly coming closer to them and feeling calmer.
Mhm.
And
Even
it's just crazy.
I'll even say we've got water here on the back of the property that we're on right now. And it's the time of the season that the Canadian geese come in and they start roosting around. And so we end up having a lot of Canadian geese in the yard. They'll come in and
Without a
just,
Canadian geese poo.
and that too.
And noise.
But they'll just be napping. I mean, I'm talking 50 to 100 of them. They'll be napping in the backyard, right? They'll just come in and they'll just cop a squat and take a nap. Well, most people, or at least for me, most people will walk towards them and they instantly sense that, we need to move. I can literally walk, they'll be napping and I can literally walk through them while they're they might pop a head up and look at me, but I'm just like, I just change my field and I'm just like, look, I'm no harm, no foul. I'm not here to mess with you. I need to get from this point to that point. And I kind of even talking that in my head as I'm doing it, I'm like, look, I don't want to disturb your sleep. Just take a nap. And so I just walk and I'm just and they'll kind of raise their head up and look at me, and then they won't tuck their head back down under their wing like they were, but they'll just kind of just settle back in just to make sure that I'm not going to do anything weird. But none of them get up. None of them walk away. They just kind of just lay there.
But you said something really important there, is that you managed your energy.
Mhm.
And when I've done channeling, it's been so funny because the message that kept coming through was humans are so messy with their energy.
Oh,
Like like you brush your hair every day, hopefully, you groom yourself, but we don't think of grooming our energy.
That's right.
And so, like I know with my daughter, she and I are so intertwined that if my I literally, before I get to her, I have to breathe deeply, relax, get it out, because if
She'll call you out on it.
yeah, she's like, mom, stop and just breathe, because
Right.
we can't talk until you do. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And she goes, no, you're not,
That's the same way with just the opposite with our daughter Natalie. Same thing. I could tell before she even got in the house
Mhm.
that she's in that mood. She's there's
And it
something.
drives him
It drives
crazy
me
until he
nuts.
understands what's going on.
Yeah, it drives me
Well,
nuts.
and so that's the point I want to make with that with our audience is that, whether you intend to or not, you're putting energy out there, and there are people around you who are picking it up, whether it's intentional or
Yeah.
not. It's, some people do it because it's literally wired into them for survival.
Mhm.
And there's others that are just walking blindly along, having a happy day, and whack, your energy hits them. And so it's like your responsibility it is everyone's responsibility. It's like, don't kind of shit on other people.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but it's
Be
like,
responsible
Yeah, you
with your
don't.
energy.
but you think, well, I'm not going to walk in and say, hey, hope you have a nice day. Like, I mean, there are people out there that do that, but generally we try to be nice and cordial.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize your energy is a part of that.
Yeah.
You can say that and be a mess, and the person isn't receiving what you're
Right.
intending at all.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's all
Yeah.
about grounding and getting yourself collected.
Well, I like, what we said about, your energy hygiene. It's, if I am going to get dressed in the morning to go somewhere, why don't I get my energy dressed, ready to go somewhere? Right.
Yep.
And just spend a couple minutes before you leave the
How
house.
do you do that? Tell them how you do that.
For me, like if I know that if I'm just bebopping around, I'm not really worried about it. But if I know if I'm going to a meeting or if I'm going to the grocery store or if I'm going somewhere, today's a good example. I went to the grocery store early on this morning. We were obviously traveling, so I had to do a quick grocery run. Well, I just popped in some good music that I like to listen to, turned the volume up, and just got myself into that beautiful place where I'm just chill. And it's interesting because as soon as I get to the grocery store, it's the same grocery store. It's Walmart, and I'll go to Walmart. But it's interesting how a number of people will just walk past you and just give you a smile or just say, "Hey, how you doing?" Or good morning or whatever. And you're not even approaching them. You're just walking past them. But if you go in there with this, I hate Walmart, fuck Walmart, all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to get the side eye from everybody, and so it's
about changing your mood.
It's changing your vibration. It's changing your
thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, for me, okay. So it's kind of unfair for me because I'm Aries. And so I wake up every day like it's freaking Christmas.
Oh my God.
So it's
you're one of those early riser happy people.
Oh no, I'm a late riser happy person.
Oh
yeah, let's get that right. And so I'm always looking for the good in people. And even if somebody was a jerk to me the day before, I forget. I'm just like, I'm like a puppy. And so
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of, which is really funny because I was super moody as a kid. So I was like the negative parts of Aries when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And as I grew, I decided I don't want to be that, I slowly, the thing is I did the work to release all of those negative, icky whatevers. So when my friend Diana and I were in Dallas, we were staying at this hotel, which was not where we wanted to stay. And it just ended up being the place. And we walk in and there's this guy to check us in. And I am not at all jiving with the place, like the energy and everything. It's not the beautiful place I'd intended for us to stay. It is, but it's like I can't remember. It's one of the suites kind of places. And, but the neighborhood that it was in, it was just like, Anyway, so I walk in and it's a pleasant place and I say hello to the guy and I'm like, you know what? I gotta form what I want this experience to be.
Sure.
And so I can feel myself, it's like dialing it up, revving up the energy in me because I'm like, I want this person to like me so that I have a better experience. Like I know these kinds of things. Like I can it's not like I'm trying to manipulate it. It's a natural response to lift people up, I guess, or whatever. So, I ask his name and he's checking me in and I'm like, yeah, it's our birthday weekend, my friend and I, and so every time we would walk out, I just, because I had set that positive energy with him, it's like a magnet. Every time I'd go past him, I would just stop and just go, literally, because I'd put this ball of positive energy.
Right.
And so I just go, Julio, how are you doing today? And like, he's just going, I'm very well, Samantha. Thank you. And like, you could just see, he's kind of going, this is wonderful, know? And I'd say, so what are your plans today? And he's kind of going, well, I'm working.
Yeah. Right.
And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm off to do, X, Y, Z and stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'd come back and I would share with him what I did. And so then on the third day, I was walking out the door. I said, today is my birthday, Julio. He's like, happy birthday, Miss Samantha, and I walk out the door and apparently he had been waiting all day for me. Aww. And I didn't know this. When I came back, this other person said, yeah, Julio, I've been looking for you. And I said, is he here? She goes, no, he's left, but he'll be here tomorrow. So the next day, I see Julio and he goes, oh, Miss Samantha, come over here. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Julio? And he goes, I missed your birthday yesterday, but I want to give you a gift. And I'm like, I can't accept it. Really? And he's like, yes, anything you want out of, the
little store thing.
Convenience store. Look, they've got wine and beer. And,
wow.
And then I looked at it, I was like, they had one thing of mint chocolate chip ice cream.
There you go.
And I had one night left in the hotel and I was going to eat that whole damn mint chocolate chip.
That's right.
I said, really? Like, I was so overwhelmed with gratitude for his acknowledgement. But, and then I go over and I give him a big hug and he's just like going, oh my God, But think about the energy that was created, the synergy of all of that.
And the vibration that you created, because he went home and was nice to people on the road or in his house or whatever.
Right.
And it just vibrates.
Butterfly effect, it's a thing. So
for sure.
It's, it costs so little. Like you can't do it disingenuously. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
But you get to decide what your energy is going to be. And like, if your energy is off and you're messed up, it's okay to do a do-over. It's okay to crawl back into bed and try to reset yourself, or like the somatic stuff.
Yep.
You know, I was pent up with energy over that time too. And I remember dancing around the room and shaking energy off of me just to get the excess stuff that I didn't like the feel of out of me.
Right. Yeah.
So it is energy hygiene management.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
And before we wrap up, I do want to mention something, not that we're ready to wrap up, but related to discernment. Remember, we were talking about sensing into how it feels in your body.
Mm-hmm.
That requires that you understand how your body feels. So checking in with yourself all the time to know what's yours and what's not yours.
Yep.
Because even if we're not trying to discern the best experience or practitioner or modality or whatever it is, if you happen to pass somebody, like Will might pass somebody and get this sense of anxiety, and all of a sudden you're feeling anxious and you don't know why, you might have picked up somebody else's. So if you understand, okay, before I left the house, I felt good. I did not have a stomach ache. I wasn't anxious or this or that. So checking in with yourself routinely throughout the day is very helpful so that you can recognize what's yours and what's not. Because once you know that it's not yours, where you can release from it.
Yeah.
And then you're not walking around being anxious and lashing out and stuff.
And the magical phrase is this mine?
That's right.
It's like, ooh, you know, but you just say like, you're calling it out. Like, is this mine? And if it's not, like you said, it releases, but it's that acknowledgement.
Yeah. And a lot of people do get freaked out by, you know, what they sense and that isn't theirs. And they don't, you know, it's even the most seasoned practitioners are at times or have times struggling with, and I hate to call it an attachment because it's really not an attachment. It's just a clinging on of somebody else's energy that, you know, they think of it like static electricity. One is positively charged, one is negatively charged. The one that's negatively charged wants to get the positive charges. If you're the highly positive charged person, the highly charged pole,
it's going to come to you.
It's going to just bloop, pop over to you and you
like a sock.
Right. And you, right. It's going to cling to you. Right. Yeah. Right out of the dryer. But it's not that it's bad. You have all the ability to transmute it and discharge it from you.
Yeah.
You know, you're at a point, those that understand their positivity, their positively charged ions, they understand how to discharge that or transmute that of others. And it's okay to walk around and get a little bit from other people, because think about it. They just discharged something that might've been plaguing them for a while. They saw your positivity. Maybe you just smiled at them and said, "Oh, okay, well, here you go." You know,
and that's huge. Instead of looking at that person like, what's their problem?
Right.
Oh, why are they in such a bad mood? I always sit there like, you know, somebody flips you off, somebody's like, you know, cuts in your lane or whatever. I'm just like, wow,
that's a different story.
They must be having, see, yeah. For me, I just sit there and just go, you know, wow, they're having a rough time of it. Or if somebody yells, you know, like kind of retorts something back to me, I just kind of look at them and I'm like, you know, I'm sorry that you're kind of having a rough day here, you know, and it's the acknowledgement. And I think that's the difference. Like with Julio, like, I don't know if he loved his job or not, but just the interactions we were having was making those days that he knew he was seeing me at least pleasant.
Right. A smile on his face.
Julio in Dallas had no idea he was going to be a star on our podcast today.
Right.
Yes. I wish he knew.
But just briefly, I think we may have talked about this in other episodes, but how to discharge negative energies or any kind of energy, because you don't want an excess of anything, really.
Yeah.
So getting your feet in the grass or on the sand at the beach, in the water, things like that, salt baths, taking your selenite bar and
oh boy, I do that
wiping yourself down with that. That's hygienic.
Or swiping away all of it while you're in the shower.
My favorite is just running my hands under, because that's like a quick, I used to do it when I would do appointments back to back.
Oh yeah.
I would always, you know, like, it's just like cleaning off the energy from the person. But see, I realize I don't do that anymore. Like I used to, I think now I'm, knock on wood, seasoned enough or something. There's some automatic cleansing thing that I do. Like I've just released the energy. I don't need to feel like I mean, there are times when, yes, I want to go literally stand in the grass, you
Sure.
know?
Well, I mean, it's like, who is it that talks about rituals and, rituals are more for the human than they are for anything else. So the ritual of washing our hands to discharge the energy, or taking a selenite wand, or doing all of that. Yes. Are they effective? They absolutely are. But at a point at which, to the point at which you just are acclimated to your own process, and it just takes care of itself, like you say,
that
automatically.
It's your intention.
Yeah.
That's the word we're looking for, is like, if you intend this energy is leaving me. And I remember getting into arguments with people about that. They're like, no, there's spiritual attachments. You need to cut cords.
Right.
And the thing is, I think that, again, all of that is symbolic and very important to acknowledge.
Absolutely.
And respect. And some people operate that way, and that helps them to even guide for their clients,
absolutely,
that disconnect from their clients. But it's really just the intention of it. Yeah.
Yep.
But even if you are normally discharging on a regular basis through your intention, even your guides have said at sometimes, because you do so many sessions, you just have stagnant energy, not bad energy, but it gets stagnant.
You don't necessarily catch all of it.
And you need to do a little bit of
take
hygiene.
Some proactive measures to mitigate it. For sure. Yeah.
Well, do we think that the viewers have had enough of my voice today?
No.
We have to tape one more episode, so you're going to hear it again.
Brenda Vaccaro.
Oh, it's sexy, isn't it? That sexy horsey voice.
It's not quite Kathleen Turner yet.
No, it's not.
That could be after the next couple of podcasts.
But we do have to tape one more, so you're going to hear it twice. I don't know if this will be the first one that airs or the second one that airs, but at any rate, now you know why. But if you have not already, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, because we love those. And what else? Share away.
Yes, for sure. Share.
Hit the notification bell. Subscribe if you haven't, because we're up past 1,000 now, and that's exciting.
Yep.
Oh, we almost forgot the guy in the background.
He's so cute. That's so cute.
I wanted to introduce, we don't know his name yet.
Oh, he's really cool.
So this was the other surprise when we got back from spring break. This Vermont teddy bear box was sitting on our kitchen counter, and with no
addressed to both of us.
Do you have
how was it?
Where's the tag?
It's in the kitchen.
How is it in your house?
So
we have a pet sitter.
Yeah, we got pets.
She got it off the front porch.
Okay.
But it said something about thank you for
graciously sharing the origin story.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was from somebody that we gave a free book to, or I don't know. If you guys know, please identify yourself in the comments. But this was a really neat surprise. Very, very kind. We were so excited and pleasantly shocked.
My first instinct for the name was Cosmo.
Yep.
And one other person on Facebook said Cosmo. If you have a name.
Oh, he's Cosmo. Nope. Forget it. Don't even bother. Just agree with Cosmo.
The eyes are so blue. Look at how blue those eyes are.
He's
very cosmic looking, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's so cute. I almost forgot him back here. I knew I had him out here for a reason. Sit right there, Cosmo. Okay.
He might be in our next podcast too.
Right.
He might have to be our
little mascot.
Could happen.
Maybe we'll move him around the scene.
I wonder how many people out there saw him and were wondering when we were going to mention it.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't forget. All right, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching Out on a Limb podcast.
See you guys.
Bye.